Hello? Anybody there? Name the song. All right. Well, hey, I'm going to get started on today's live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Don't be shy. You can feel free to type in the comments who you are and where you're at. I always like to see folks from all over the world joining in on these live streams. Cheers. And if you do appreciate or like these live streams, feel free to do this. That always helps my channel, and I appreciate it. It kind of keeps these going, as I know that people are watching and getting some benefit from these. Of course, these are often geared toward my Patreon members, as kind of a general response to a lot of the materials that I'm covering on Patreon. So today's topic is actually kind of built from an étude that I wrote the other day that I posted on Patreon immediately at all tiers, and it's actually available now as a PDF. The sound slice is on Patreon, and the bonus videos on Patreon. So you have to, I think it's at the public tier too. So if you haven't already joined Patreon at the public tier, meaning free, please feel free to do so, so you can grab a lot of the materials that I post at that tier. But if you want the full deal, meaning access to all of my lessons on Patreon, then you'd have to be a subscriber to my community. Gerhard, welcome. CR, good to see the both of you, Patreon members there. Thank you for being in my community and also for the support to help me keep doing these lessons and live streams. I've been doing it. Well, I've been playing and teaching for many, many years. I won't talk about the length of that, but Patreon has been happening for about 6 years. This is now going into my 7th year anniversary, and I now have 48,000 plus posts and lessons. Each day I'll post something new and exciting for Patreon members, whether it's a bonus video, sound slice practice videos, etudes, whatever, you name it. So I'm going to load up this etude that I had written out. Just kind of, I like to talk about how I like to practice, and that's kind of the topic for today's session, not just a Patreon promotion, of course. But I do recommend you join either the free tier or the pay tier if you want to grab more of my materials, including the bonus videos and PDFs and sound slice practice videos. So with that in mind, let me load up my sound slice practice videos for the topic of today's session. Actually, let me just kind of give an overview. Generally, I try to help others practice, what they need to practice on, whether it's working up for a gig, recording, or anything, a wedding or something. They have a song request. So that's first and foremost, practice for the sake of whatever you have upcoming immediately. If you've got a gig next week and you're playing some Django Reinhardt and you only know a couple songs, you need to add a few more songs to your repertoire. So, I say go to my essential list and learn those basic songs that everybody should know for playing gypsy jazz. Same thing with bossa nova. Recently, I had a funk soul gig to where we added a lot of Grant Green songs and some other songs similar to that, like Eddie Harris, Schofield. So, I practice for that gig. I posted on Patreon too. Hey, this is what I'm practicing, as I'm practicing. So it's just kind of a thing that I like to do. It's just a kind of a blog when I'm practicing. That's all on Patreon again. So practice for your next gig. If you don't have gigs and you're just practicing for the fun of it, if you don't even play with others, then hey, that's kind of that's stress-free, which is also great too. So if you have gigs, usually I'm saying practice for your next gig. Okay. If you're like, hey Tracy, I don't have gigs, but I just love playing and practicing, I want to get better, then I usually say, well, what songs do you really love and enjoy? Practice over those songs. Don't practice over giant steps. If you don't play giant steps, don't practice over, So What, even though So What's a good one for modal jamming, as many of you already know for practicing your scales and modes, it's nice to have a progression, a chord progression, or it's kind of a riff and then a progression to practice your improvisations on. Blue Bossa, just to name a few songs, Autumn Leaves, Fly Me to the Moon. These are some standards, of course, Night and Day. I post a lot of stuff like that because that's mainly what I play are these classic, what I call jazz standards, oftentimes the Great American Songbook in Django Reinhardt, a lot of bossa novas. That's my repertoire, so that's often when I'm practicing. I'm not practicing Moment's Notice or Lazy Bird and some of the Coltrane songs or stuff like that as much. I did Blue Boss is a good one though, for sure to add to your repertoire. So oftentimes on Patreon, and most of you are already on Patreon again as you're watching this, as probably the replay, I'll share stuff like this. So let's go ahead and just look at the etude. Oh, summertime. Again, I have a list of what I call the essentials. So this one, my title for this was phrase training, to where we're practicing phrasing and ideas. And I kind of did the breakdown as I was doing it. This was a process video initially. So this is over the chord changes to swing jeton. Popular, beautiful gypsy jazz song. So I'm not going to play the melody right now, but what I did write though, and as I was working through it, was just a little etude, and I'm going to talk about that when we can play through this together, because this is a good example of just some phrasing, working on phrasing, putting together the strategies that I like to talk about. And soloing strategies is just like having something in mind, so you're not just blindly soloing. So in this case, I'm quoting the melody. Right? And then here I'm doing a diminished 7 arpeggio on the A7, which I'm often saying turn that one chord, the G minor, into G diminished. And then from here, harmonic minor scale. So these are kind of just a harmonic minor scale lick here. Hopefully you know which one. I'm going to check the comments for those who are participating in this live stream. Which harmonic minor on A7 would you play? This is just common practice, the number one harmonic minor scale. Please type in the chat. I'll give you 10 seconds to type it in. You see A7? What harmonic minor are you going to play, especially in the gypsy jazz style? Because you're going to assume A7 is the 5 of D minor. That's okay. I don't see anybody typing that in. So yeah, you play D harmonic minor. So maybe I'll annotate this a little bit too. We've got the melody fragment here to get started. And then we've got a nice little turn into the third, which is still the melody. But then from here, this now busts into that diminished 7 arpeggio. So that's the trick, is that this is called a strategy, trick, or hack, whatever you want to call it, on swing jeton specifically. But swing jeton is a very popular gypsy jazz song, so that's why I would spend time practicing it. It's the same chord progression, the A section, as Bossa Dorado, which is another very popular gypsy jazz song. So what I usually say for my strategies, if you want to check out my swing jeton studies, which I have a lot of etudes, especially on arpeggios, but those are just, kind of strategies and soloing technique studies. But this is a little bit more simplified and more musical perhaps as well. Right here on the A7, we diminish it. So whatever you do on the G minor, now we can do a diminished run on the A7 on the G diminished. Whatever you wish to play. In this case, I kept it really simple. And then from there, I did that D harmonic minor scale fragment here. I'll show you so you can see the full screen there. And that leads us to the third of the D7. And from here, I'm doing the same concept, diminished 7 arpeggio. Sharp. I just wrote that quick last week for my Patreon members. Now I'm demonstrating how I would practice it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm on the D7 chord, back to A7. D7. Okay. So again, if I'm not nailing that harmonic minor, this is the D harmonic minor scale. And since this is an etude here, I'm just going to write in for annotate here underneath. Usually I write DHM abbreviation, and my students know that means D harmonic minor. This, of course, here, just to annotate a little further for this, since that's what this study is about, this is the C sharp dim 7. And many of you know the importance of the diminished 7 substitution on a dominant chord, especially in gypsy jazz. You see A7, you think C sharp diminished 7. And then you connect it to the next chord. So when you see D7, what do you think? What's the third of D7? So again, this is where the theory comes in, okay? Do you need to know theory? To some degree, yeah, I think so. That's why you're on my Patreon page, probably, because I like to explain everything, break it down for you. So we have this D harmonic minor scale like on the A7, because A7 is the 5 of D, and we want that darker. If you're wondering the theory of that, you get a flat 9 and you get a sharp 5 on the A7 chord. So that's the color that you'd get. You get this sound on the A7. It adds those two color notes, that sharp 5 and the flat 9. Then you run the diminish here and then resolve it to D. And in this case, this song, it goes to D7. So it's like a chain of dominant and another dominant. So we have, and there was a little chromatic passing tone in there. This very, very Django Reinhardt style in popular gypsy jazz phrase here. And then we run up the diminished 7 here. Again, the diagonal method. And I've got a lot of studies on the diagonal method. All of you on Patreon know that. And then I do the same exact lick here as I do here. So when I see D7 up here, some of you might say Phrygian dominant. Sure, that's the same. D Phrygian dominant. That's the same thing as G harmonic minor. And it's the same lick. But in this case, it's going to resolve not to G7, but that's the real 5. So it goes to G minor. So then I do this run here. And that's a G minor add 9 arpeggio. Okay. 1, 2, which is a 9, flat 3, and 5. It could just, I often call it a scale fragment. 1, 2, flat 3, 5. 1, 2, flat 3, 5. 1, 2, flat 3. So it just goes right up. Beautiful. It'd be kind of the equivalent of doing this chord, G minor 9, add 9. So you get that arpeggio that matches the harmony. And that's often when I'm thinking is when I'm soloing. I like to think harmonically. What do I like when I hear the chord? What do I want to hear with the chord? That's what I want to achieve when I'm soloing. Okay, so we've got that. I'm just kind of breaking this etude down a little bit further with annotation here. G harmonic minor. It's the same phrase as this. So I'm going to put G, H, M here. Okay. And again, when you practice this, you just got to do it phrase by phrase, and that's why this is called phrase training. Okay. So we can put it on here. We can push play. We can turn on, enable the metronome here if you want. We can slow it way down for practice. Now you have to understand that the sound slice doesn't swing. I mean, we can put swing, and it kind of goes da 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 da. It's a little bit too much, so you could either kind of play a little bit practicing, which is what I'm going to recommend for this. And then you can put it on swing if you want it to swing. So right now I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to give us a little count in, 1 bar. So it's going to have 4 clicks. And again, what I would recommend is that you loop any particular section that you need to. And this is also good for learning transcriptions. For many of you, there's so many transcriptions available, whether it's Django Reinhardt or John Coltrane. Break it down. I would really recommend that you understand what you're, what you're looking at and what they're playing from a theoretical perspective versus just blindly, again, learning it. By understanding what they're doing, that makes a big difference. And not only that, you'll be able to apply it to the song that you're playing, whether it's All of Me or How Insensitive or whatever your favorite song is that you're learning. If you're learning it for a gig, you'll be able to apply those ideas. Okay. So again, this is a G minor add 9 scale fragment. I just call it an add 9 arpeggio, so I'm just going to notate G minor add 9. Please feel, if you're just tuning in, I'm not looking at the comments right now, but please feel free to type in the comments. Again, this can also be called, oh, sorry, not that. This is, did the wrong G minor add 9 arp. Okay, arpeggio. This was G harmonic minor. So again, there's not that much information really happening in this, but it's good to practice little installments. Don't feel overwhelmed by having to learn a whole solo. I'm going to talk about this, and we'll take this and we're going to do some fun things with it. We can switch keys and play bossa dorado, but I'm going to do, and I demonstrated that in my video, the bonus video that's on Patreon. But for this, I'm going to demonstrate. Let's do something else. Because this, as I mentioned, this is the same chord progression, very popular chord progression. That's why, again, the theory is important. You'll know that this is the 1 chord in the key of G minor. This is the 2 dominant. This is the 5, and it goes back to the 1. And that's your first 8 bars. You got the 1, 2 dominant, 5, 1. But if you turn that 1 chord to a major chord and keep everything else the same, you're gonna have this. Okay, you might say, ooh, I know that song. Maybe it could be, I know why I've waited, why I've been so blue. Okay, so it could be many songs. It could be Take the A Train, it could be Girl from Ipanema. It's a very, very common progression. Jersey Bounce, the list goes on. Crazy Rhythm. So that's a very, very common chord progression. This chord progression, 1, 2 dominant, 5, 1. So that's what I'm always saying. Spend time practicing these type of things, these type of progressions that you're going to be using often. Don't songs that you don't play very often, or that progressions that they're not common. I wouldn't spend my time doing that when I can benefit a lot more from practicing progressions that are common, whether it's blues, rhythm changes. Those are the most popular. Minor blues, major blues, 12-bar blues, jazz blues, etc. Rhythm changes, the Honeysuckle Rose B section, stuff like that. Sweet Georgia Brown's a great song. So again, thanks for joining in. Let's practice this a little bit more and then take it and turn that etude into the major key. I want to show you how to do that. Okay. Feel free to type in the chat. Looks like CR and Gerhard are the only ones still here. Appreciate you guys checking out this lesson. Let's go back to this. So again, if we were to practice now very, very slowly, one other aspect of it besides the analysis of it, like what is going on here with this? Here is you got to work on your fingering that works best for you. So there's a couple things here that I'm thinking that I'm wondering if you guys are playing along with me in real time. I'm like, did you get your first finger here? Did you get that first finger there? You have to kind of shift from here, this arpeggio, and do this. So you have to kind of just plan out your fingering for a lot of these licks, especially in gypsy jazz style. So again, you got to kind of work out your fingerings. Okay, that's where you got to sit down and try to connect. So what I recommend for practicing, this is very important. What I recommend for practicing that stuff is that, I'll get off the screen sharing for a second. What I recommend again is that you practice stuff like, you just get the shifting part. This same thing here. So I got my first finger planted. This is my 10th fret here. Don't be confused. People are confused by the European guitars here, the markings. So again, you just want to plan out your fingerings, whether it's that arpeggio separate. There's a lot of these are just little separate licks, and sometimes I'll have them in my quick lick series, just the add 9 arpeggio or whatnot like that. But now again, we want to seamlessly piece this together so into a nice solo so it sounds great. Let's practice this just a little bit more. Then I'm going to show you how to morph it so it's in a major key. If you're watching this, please do the thumbs up or like or whatever you want to do. That helps these channels and keeps these live streams happening. So let me go ahead and go back to the screen share. I'm going to show you something cool here, but let's practice it a little bit more so you can get this cool phrase down with me. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's speed up the tempo just a notch here, 100. And let me know if the mix is okay. I mentioned it might be a little bit loud or the guitar might be loud. I don't know. I can know from your. Oh, I got a good idea. Let's put this, we could just put this on repeat too. We'll get rid of that. How many times? I don't know. 20? We won't do it that many times, obviously, but we could just loop this 20 times for practicing. Now that you have the fingering worked out for this. And again, you're going to want to break it down into the smallest components first. Again. Again. So again, I'm not sure where everybody is at with some of these ideas, but we're just taking a pretty real life example of a solo excerpt style, in this style, shifting, diminish arpeggios, add 9 arpeggios, slurring, all that stuff. Triples. Just a notch more. You can practice it as we're going along. Again, you go at your own level and your own capability. Sounds like the metronome is doing something a little bit funky here. I do apologize for that. We don't need them. Maybe the count-in. Maybe that's it's going on there. So again, this is just practicing. I'm just talking about practicing phrases, piecing it together, isolating and breaking down. Let's go just a little bit faster here. How about 150? There's no. Again. either. But I would, when I'm practicing, I often like to harmonize licks. That's another way to milk some material out of it. So, for example, like here, instead of that, I'm going to get rid of the metronome too. We don't need the metronome. It's kind of little sound slice issues here. You can harmonize a dim 7 arpeggio, minor third above. So let's check out, see what that would sound like. I'm just kind of curious. Just practicing harmonies. So what I'm going to do here is just to talk about now. Oh, and again, we can kick it up a little bit faster too. Why not just to 180 maybe, and just jump in. And then, just get the phrase down, move it to A minor, etc. This is all stuff you could do on Sound Slice. It's a very valuable practice tool, Sound Slice. So what I want to talk about now, I'm going to go back to the edit mode, and I'm going to do something fun and different that I highly recommend. When I teach my workshops and classes, we will go through different keys. So when I do in-person stuff, it obviously that's kind of the best way to do it. But I think I could try to do it in live streams too with you. I haven't tried it yet, but to where you're jamming along with me, I just can't hear you. But I like to switch keys. So one thing that I had done in the past for the song Minor Swing is that we have 10, 12 people playing together. We go through the song. This minor swing. Ready? Then I say this C minor. I'll just yell out the key, you know what I mean? Autumn leaves changes, why not? Good practice, right? G minor. Usually I'll yell it out a little bit ahead of time for the students to know, and then we go around, everybody gets their own key. That's really great practicing. You take a song that you think you really know well, right? Minor swing, pretty easy, right? Go through all 12 keys. Extremely beneficial. By the way, Blue Bossa is the same progression as minor swing, the A section. Minor swing, the B section is the same as the A bars as Autumn Leaves. It's pretty. There's a lot going on there, which is also 4/4, which is also used in Black Orpheus. Again, my point is use common chord progressions for practicing those minor swings. Number one, the most simplified changes, really, the chord reduction, Autumn Leaves, okay, stuff like that. So one thing I want to do right now is to take this progression, or take my étude that I wrote. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'll get rid of it 20 times, maybe just twice for fun. I'm going to add, I'll turn down the volume on this for a sec as I just do this. Type in the chat, I'll check to see who's here, see if anybody else joined in for this live stream. I stopped doing live streams because the turnout wasn't so great. So if you are here and you do like these, please do this. And I appreciate it. And that way I know that, hey, people are tuning in and or enjoying it. Let me go ahead and add more. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to copy and paste this and see what happens. Perfect. So now what we're going to do, just for fun, we're going to turn this, as I mentioned earlier, how I like to practice. If I like an idea, I want to be able to make it, play it in a major key or a minor key, so I can get the most out of it. I can really milk it. So what I'm going to do now, let's see what happens. I'm going to take this and put G major instead of G minor. Okay. And this is now going to be Take the A Train, or Exactly Like You, or Girl from Ipanema. So many songs. I'm going to change this note here. I'm going to put 5. So this is now kind of a little bit of a lesson on turning major into minor, parallel, minor to major. So I'm going to, first of all, take that 6th degree. This is where the theory kicks in. I'm still going to use that lower neighbor tone. So it's going to, instead of doing this, darker, it's going to be this. And then instead of this, it's going to be this. Happy. The 3rd. So again, you want to make sure you know. That's kind of the benefit of this, is that you learn what the tones are. So you can, do stuff like this. You can milk an idea, a Django solo, whoever's your favorite licks, and then you morph it, you turn it into your own, and you might even write a beautiful composition. Now for this ace, oh, and I did the same thing here. I didn't want it darker. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Django would often play darker licks on a major chord, but I'm just kind of conforming it to the major. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep the, well, let's see. Do I want this flat 9 with a diminished sub? Do I want it happy here with the natural 9? I think I'll do that. I think I'll do the natural 9 here. So I am going to morph this here. It's going to be a little bit prettier, very inside. And then on this harmonic minor, I'm going to take this one dark. I'm going to close that note too. Now I'm conforming it to the key of D major. This is basically a mixolydian. Okay. So now we have something like this maybe on the A7. It's not flat 9, but natural 9. And then this, instead of this, see me this. Not this. Not dark. Major. So it's A9, not flat 9. I know I keep saying that, but just in case that's new for you, it's very subtle gradation. Very, you know, we're just coloring it. It's a slight color change. Same color, blue, but just a different shade, okay? Versus this. But it's very important. I hope you hear the difference. So the difference is this, which is C sharp minor 7 flat 5 on top of the A, or this, which is C sharp diminished 7 on top of the A. So again, it's a very, very subtle color. Or this. Okay? And I'll often say the word diminish it. Diminish is the very, very powerful to use on dominant chords. You do both, is what I'm saying. You go almost like you're doing this, and this, and this, and this. So again, I really suggest playing with chords, getting those 9s, flat 9s, sharp 9s, even different colors, sharp 5, flat 5s. Learn to alter those dominants, and then when you're soloing, you'll start to hear those colors and know how to achieve and extract that. So far I'm talking a lot, but again, to me, this is very important stuff that I talk about in my private lessons. Now it's sounding a little bit happier, a little bit brighter. I should say happy. Minor could be happy, right? Now, do I want to do the same thing here? Do I want to keep the diminished 7? Or do I want to do F sharp minor 7 flat 5? That gives me a D9. Okay? I have to decide. It's easier to do the diminished. And I like that color. But do I want this? In that case, I would do this. Okay, that's good practice too. That's F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Also known as A minor 6. This is where knowing your theory again, and it's important. So instead of doing this, you do this. You can do different fingerings too. But I'm going to keep it diagonal. I'm just going to morph this one note. While here also. Okay, that's just for practicing. This might be new for many of you. And then on this, I'm going to do the same thing I did here. Same phrase. Oh, that. So not HM. I'll have to change that later, but I'm not going to worry about the annotation right now. And then instead of the minor add 9 arpeggio, you got it. Major add 9. Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 5. So here's G. Here's G. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. Beautiful. Add 9. Sounds like this. Or this. Y'all know that song. Or you do here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to change it. Make it bigger. Make this bigger. Again, that's to me why the feel. And this one. It's all in 3 locations there. So now if we listen to this, I morphed my initial etude in G minor for swing jeton, could be for bossa dorado. Swing jeton was my initial idea, intent. And then I put it in the major, and that's called the parallel major key. I'm practicing one etude, 8 bars, and I morphed some things as you just witnessed and did it with me here. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to put G major, parallel key. Help me spell the word parallel. I don't know if that's right now. I can't spell. Is that better? I'm sure somebody will correct me. Parallel major key. And let's listen to it. Let's slow it down a little bit first. And let's get rid of the repeat. Let's just hear it all as one type of long etude now. Pretty cool, huh? Type in the chat if you think it's cool too. Am I the only one who likes to practice stuff like this? There must be another. Let's play some chords underneath it. We can get rid of the metronome. Yeah, we don't need the metronome. Let's put the bigger view for you to see it. Major. Minor. Oh, I didn't repeat. So now this is where I would put the repeat sign here. I just wanted to give you the chords so you can hear the computer play it along with it. Let's do it one more time. Feel free to play chords. Feel free to play along with it. We're talking about how to morph now. After we analyze, went through the etude, we can milk one etude. This is a practice session, a 1-hour practice session, essentially for you. You can do this with your favorite licks, your favorite songs. That's what I'm encouraging. And we're going to repeat this 20 times. Just kidding. You can do it. And I'm going to put this new version on Patreon for you to practice with. The minor and the major parallel. Let's do it again. I'm just going to play some chords. You can do whatever you want here. But I want you to hear the melody against the chords. Major. Minor. Major. Etc. Now we can just practice it for technique and kick up the tempo a little bit. You know, I don't know, where were we at? 180 before? For practice. Like that. You know, but that's just bad and sloppy, so I don't recommend doing it that fast. But that's kind of the idea, is to work it up so that you can get it up to tempo and to a performance level. Well, I hope that gives you some interesting things to think about today. I appreciate you joining in. Please feel free to give the thumbs up to this video if you like it, the content, and definitely get the PDF for free in the description. Consider joining my community on Patreon, of course. There's a free tier, there's the paid tiers, and we'll see y'all next time. Have a good one. Cheers.